Good morning. In sport, remembering the man who should have been England's first black player. Jack Leslie was the victim of racism. Now fans want to see him honoured with a statue outside his club.
Latest news and sport in a moment. Also on the programme this morning, Jack Leslie was a footballing superstar in the 1920s, but he was stopped from playing for England because he was black. There's now a campaign for him to be honoured with a statue.
Got the sport for us this morning, and a really remarkable story about a fella called Jack Leslie. Cat, morning to you.
Yeah, Jack Leslie. I mean, he could be a household name by now if history had gone the other way, wouldn't it? Jack Leslie, a football player you'd probably never have heard of before today. But fans of Plymouth Argyle have heard of him, of course, and they're starting a campaign to have his statue erected in the city. Leslie was selected to play for England in 1925, but he was then taken out of the squad because he was black. Clive Coleman has the story.
Jack Leslie, a phenomenal footballer, but was he denied his place in sporting history because of the colour of his skin?
At 19,
Jack played for Plymouth Argyle, then in the 3rd Division in the 1920s. He's believed to be the first black player to captain a league side.
Here at Plymouth, Jack Leslie scored 137 goals, at times suffering racial abuse from both crowds and opponents. But in 1925, the club manager called him into his office and gave him some thrilling news. Jack Leslie had been picked to play for England.
It was the talk of the town, but when the papers came out some days later, Billy Walker of Aston Villa was in the team. Jack was named as a travelling reserve. He never travelled. England struggled to a 0-0 draw in Belfast, while Jack scored twice in Plymouth's 7-2 victory at home to Bournemouth. What happened to Jack has passed into family history.
And then you've got the wedding picture there, which is just lovely, isn't it?
Well, they look so happy, didn't they?
We certainly did. Lovely picture.
Yeah.
Well, in those days, you didn't have the television. Someone came down to watch him. They weren't watching his football, they were looking at the colour of his skin. And because of that, he was denied the chance of playing for his country.
Plymouth Argyle has already honoured one of its greatest players in this mural and has renamed its boardroom after him. But fans want a statue of Jack, and a campaign's underway.
We think that at a time when some statues are coming down, we want a campaign to put a statue up, to celebrate Jack Leslie, his incredible achievements, but also to remember that historic injustice where he was denied his England cap.
The last thing on my mind was me being the first black player to play for England.
53 years after Jack Leslie's selection for the national side, Viv Anderson became the first black player to win a full England cap.
I mean, it's incredible that, to get the euphoria of getting the call up from the manager and saying you've been picked for England, and then within a few days, the letdown of being dismissed from the squad for the colour of his skin it's abhorrent, really. You know, I'd never heard of Jack Leslie till up to 2 weeks ago, and that's a crying shame because what he achieved and what he did should be paramount in every black person's mind, you know, but hopefully this statue that we're trying to get erected will carry on his legacy.
After his playing days, Jack returned to his trade as a boilermaker before ending his working life in the boot room at West Ham, where he cleaned mud from the boots of England stars Bobby Moore and Geoff Hurst. Hardly fitting for a man who should have been remembered alongside them, and now perhaps will be. Clive Coleman, BBC News.
Those pictures at the end of that report are remarkable, aren't they, of him cleaning the mud off the boots. It really resonates, brings home what could have been for Jack Leslie, and we'll be following the story of that campaign for a statue to him on BBC Breakfast over the coming weeks and months.
Thanks for that, Kat. Some really powerful words from Viv Anderson in that as well. Thank you.